With your latest news, I'm April Cummings. The president of the Cayman Islands Chamber is urging members and employees to take the COVID-19 vaccine as soon as it is available to them. Radio Cayman's Dion Anglin has more.
Chamber President Woody Foster says government, the Health Services Authority and the Governor's Office should be commended for obtaining the Pfizer vaccine and administering it so quickly. He says being the first overseas territory to receive and administer the vaccine is an amazing accomplishment and notes the Chamber Council is prepared to be vaccinated as soon as the vaccine becomes available.
I know there's a lot of misinformation out there and there's a lot of concern and trepidation about this vaccine, but I think this is as good a chance have to get our borders back open again and our country back on a good footing.
While expressing support for the government's cautious approach to management of the pandemic to date, Mr. Foster also urged government to implement a plan and firm up a timeline to reopen to stay-over visitors since many member businesses associated with the tourism sector are struggling to survive.
There's a significant part of this country that is not doing well. The entire tourism sector is struggling. Taxi drivers and restaurants and hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are really struggling, can't pay their mortgages, have to depend on food bank and ARC and whatnot to pay their utility bills. There's only so long that we can keep up this sort of bubble that we're living in this way. And we have got to open our borders again. We've been talking about doing that for months. Well, now that the vaccine is here, we have to do what we have to do. And we have to take that leap of faith, I believe.
Since COVID-19 vaccines are not mandatory and government is aiming for a 70% vaccination rate, Mr. Foster says they are urging all residents who have no underlying medical conditions to, quote, take the vaccine so we can get our economy back on track. A recent chamber survey showed that 69% of respondents supported reopening the borders to overnight visitors under strict protocols, including testing and quarantine and administering a vaccine when it was approved by public health agencies for distribution. Reporting for Radio Cayman News, I'm Dion Anglin.
As we've said, although the island's COVID-19 vaccination program is voluntary, the health minister is urging as many of those who are able to at this time to vaccinate in order to best protect themselves, their families, and the wider community.
The worldwide count had reached a staggering 86.8 million cases and a heartbreaking 1.9 million deaths around the world, sadly. According to Bloomberg, as of the 6th of January, almost 16 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine in at least 37 countries have already been administered.
Health Minister the Honorable Dwayne Seymour says the latest statistics speak volumes about the safety of the approved COVID-19 vaccines. He says everyone can agree it is a massive undertaking to protect the globe and to do our part to fight the disease.
I am proud we have joined this life-saving campaign with the island's first batch of COVID-19 vaccines being administered. Having taken my first dose, I can attest to the safety of the vaccine and confirm that I am feeling fine, and I ask everyone in our community to come forward when it is open to your category.
Well, the first batch of vaccines has reached our shores and the vaccination program is underway. Minister Seymour says we cannot become complacent and must continue to practice prevention measures. Information on updated safety guidance, frequently asked questions, and a video on myths surrounding vaccines can be found at gov.ky/coronavirus. A change in leadership at the Cayman Islands courts. CIGTV's Donna Bush explains.
A new Chief Magistrate has been appointed to the Cayman Islands courts. Valdez Folditz was officially appointed by His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper, following the retirement recently of Magistrate Nova Hall. Now, the Judicial and Legal Services Commission recently carried out an internal recruitment process wherein Magistrate Folditz was recommended as a successful candidate. His Excellency subsequently accepted the recommendation. Magistrate Folditz was called to the bar in Canada back in 1984, and prior to moving to the Cayman Islands, he spent 15 years practicing law in the areas of criminal, coroner, and disciplinary proceedings.
That's CIGTV's Donna Bush reporting. Training starts for the Coast Guard's first class of potential recruits. This summer, the Coast Guard received more than 300 applications from Caymanians across all three islands, with 16 ultimately being selected to undergo recruitment training. The class of 10 men and 6 women will undergo a series of intense training sessions over an 8-week period, which include academic, physical, and water-based overseas training. Lieutenant Commander Leo Anglin says the service is pleased with the capabilities displayed by the recruits so far.
While intense, this 8-week training is critical to their successful development. It will ensure that they are equipped with the necessary skills to respond to any maritime needs of our community, while ensuring our service is in keeping with the standards of other Coast Guard agencies internationally.
If they successfully meet the criteria for entry into the Coast Guard by the end of the program, the group will earn the designation of Coast Guard Recruit. CICG Commander Robert Scotland tells Radio Cayman they will then be attached to one of the various operational units within the service, where they will continue to learn and develop their professional competence and proficiency.
This is our first Cayman Islands Coast Guard recruit class, and from its members, we will begin to fill vacancies within our various operational units. Our mission in the Coast Guard is to provide a team of professionals dedicated to delivering maritime search and rescue response to persons and vessels in distress, enforce the laws of our island, while also ensuring that the safety and security of our borders are preserved. We believe that these recruits, once they have completed basic training, will be well on their way to delivering this type of service to the islands.
Eligible Caymanians are invited to submit their applications for overseas government scholarships because an important deadline is looming. Radio Cayman's Shanda Gallego has more.
The overseas scholarship application closes at the end of this month, so that's January 31st at 12 a.m.
Manager of the Scholarship Secretariat, Dr. Shari Smith, explains despite the impact of COVID-19 on the world, the Education Council was still able to award educational scholarships for applicants to pursue overseas degree programs, with many commencing with an online format. They've taken into account the impact COVID-19 has had on all of our students and are continuing to provide support not only through financial means, but considerations of policies where needed. The period of application opened on November 15th, 2020, and as the application deadline is fast approaching, Dr. Smith says there's quite a few people still in the first stages of the 5-step application process.
That is a bit concerning, and so we encourage people to get it done and not wait till the last minute. Applicants need to remember that it is a 5-stage process and it's all online. We do not accept any hard copies at the Secretariat. Everything has to be entered on the online system, and there are various documentations they need, so it's very important that they look at the guidance notes as well so they know what they need to upload.
Dr. Smith says it's important to have a family discussion on the way forward, especially during these COVID-19 times.
They should take into consideration whether the school that you're selecting is going to require a student visa. So does that mean that you're going to have to travel to Jamaica or somewhere else? And does that mean that you could potentially be required to quarantine? So unfortunately, the requirement keeps moving because it is an ever-changing situation with COVID, and as it continues to be with us. So those are things that they also should be considering when they're looking at whether they're applying.
And one more thing, when looking at universities, look at how that university has responded and how that country has responded to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Even though we are protected and we have been not as touched by the whole COVID scenario and environment and living with it, it is real and it is out there, and so persons need to really have a wholesome look at what they could potentially be going into and how they will be able to navigate that.
A total of 157 new overseas scholarships were issued to successful applicants in 2020. 124 of those scholarships were awarded to applicants pursuing their bachelor's degree, and 33 were awarded to students pursuing postgraduate degrees. Shanda Gallego, Radio Cayman News.
That is your latest local news from Radio Cayman's newsroom. I'm April Cummings.